it feels so good to say it again. Good evening and welcome to Newsline. I am Claire Adilabu Abdurrazak. You know, there's something truly special about being back right here where storytelling comes alive every Sunday night. Now, our destination tonight is completely unscripted. But that's the real thrill about Newsline, isn't it? We simply follow wherever the stories leads us. But tonight, we will trace the journey of treasures from our land, from the rich, creamy glow of the golden shea butter that speaks of heritage, to the graceful return of beads, wrapping our culture around every wrist with, of course, great pride. And somewhere between duty and destiny, love, a love story, blossoms in khaki. All right, so shall we continue from where Elizabeth Obori signed off last week and journey together through the stories that remind us of who we are? But first, as always, let's hear the news of the day. And President Bola Tinubu says Nigeria stands firm as a democracy governed by constitutional guarantees of religious liberty. The president notes in a message that since 2023, his administration has maintained an open and active engagement with both Christian and Muslim leaders, while also continuing to address security challenges affecting citizens across all faiths. President Tinubu emphasizes that the characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect the nation's reality, nor does it take into account the government's consistent and sincere efforts to safeguard freedom of religion and belief for every Nigerian. President Tinubu reaffirms that religious freedom and tolerance remain core tenets of Nigeria's collective identity and will always be upheld. He stressed that Nigeria opposes all forms of religious persecution and remains committed to protecting the rights of citizens of every faith. The president concluded by assuring that his administration will continue to work closely with the United States government and the international community to deepen understanding and cooperation in protecting communities of all faiths. Nigeria's government has been advised to swiftly initiate diplomatic engagements that will present Nigeria's position and a clear picture of the terrorist activities in the country. The security risk management expert, Kabiru Adamu, in a conversation with our State House correspondent, Musbatan Wahab, on executive recap, also urges the government to carry along the umbrella religious bodies in the country in managing and correcting the wrong perception about religions in Nigeria. He traces what led to the wrong perspectives being held by the U.S. government.
When several congressional delegations came to Nigeria, starting from around January up until now, they visit Nigeria, they go to Plateau, they go to Benue. We try to encourage them to go to Zamfara, go to Katsina, go to the other northwestern states so that they get a balance. But clearly, they were more intentional in visiting Plateau. Now, we authorized that visit. We should have as a condition to granting them their visa, say they must go to Zamfara and Katsina. When the National Human Rights Commission published its July dashboard report, we cautioned, because what the National Human Rights Commission did in its July dashboard is to actually endorse this Trump narrative by saying that, yes, there is a suppression of religion. But when they were now giving evidences, unfortunately, they did not give evidence from one Islamic center that was attacked or cleric. All the evidences they gave was supporting Christian targeting, which was faulty.
Kabiru Adamu urged U.S. government to reconsider its developing considerations, warning that any untold America's action could be detrimental to the African continent.
Call on the Christian Association of Nigeria, call on the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs to sit together and issue a joint statement admitting to the fact that yes, there are killings, but that those killings are not targeted at any of the two faiths. They attack Muslims, they attack Christians, they attack churches, they attack mosques. Let the world hear from the two institutions that this is not really religious. After that, whatever the world decides to do, the Nigerian government has played its part. If it leads to state fracture, the consequences will be devastating for the African continent. I don't think that the African continent can contain a collapse of the Nigerian state. So I hope the Americans are very conscious of what they are doing and the consequences it could attract. And I must say, as someone who has set up a private firm that is monitoring security trends, from June this year up until now, we've seen a reduction in security incidents. We deserve that commendation from our ally, the United States, and not criticism of the manner that we've seen.
And for more on this insightful interview, you can stay tuned to NTA for executive recap coming up immediately after Newsline at 10:30 tonight. Now, to other stories, federal government has expressed deep sympathy and solidarity with Cuba, Haiti and Jamaica following the catastrophic impact of Hurricane Melissa. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs describes emerging reports of widespread destruction, flooding and loss of life as heart-wrenching. The government commends the courageous efforts of national emergency response teams in the affected countries. In the spirit of South-South cooperation, Nigeria calls on the international community to provide all necessary assistance for urgent recovery and rebuilding efforts. In other stories, the Presidential Initiative on Unlocking the Healthcare Value Chain, PVAC, and UNICEF have launched a new initiative to empower Nigerian youth in the manufacturing sector. The program, under the Enabling Local Manufacturing Initiative, will identify high-demand roles, train 200 young Nigerians with special focus on women and girls, and also facilitate their placement in the manufacturing industry. The National Coordinator of PVAC, Dr. Abdul Mukhtar, identified 6 key barriers hindering industrialization, including policy, regulatory and legal frameworks, access to finance, market access, human capital development, research and development, as well as infrastructure. Dr. Mukhtar emphasized the need for practical solutions to bridge these gaps and strengthen Nigeria's local manufacturing capacity. The dialogue, which has as a side event to the Nigeria-EU Health Investment Forum, signals the start of a coordinated process to map job roles, mobilize youth, train, certify and connect them to industry opportunities.
The widespread knowledge goals for several few years. So you also need to be able to refresh. Even if you have the skills at any given moment, you need to refresh.
Who have the right skills for the job and they are placed in the right institutions. And hopefully 6 months after placement, 70% of them are retained in the positions.
The Nigerian Railway Corporation has confirmed a train derailment along the Warri-Takbe rail line. The incident occurred at about 7:30 in the evening on November 1, 2025, around kilometer 212+8 meter Agbo. In a statement, the managing director of the corporation, Kadi Okwefa, says preliminary findings suggest the derailment may have been caused by suspected track vandalism. However, full investigation is underway to determine the exact cause. He adds that all passengers on board were safely evacuated and no casualties were recorded. Following the incident, the NRC has announced a temporary suspension of train services along the corridor to allow for a comprehensive investigation. The corporation also apologizes for the inconvenience caused and assures of improved service delivery. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, says it has received over 1 million applications on its students' loan portal since its official launch on May 24, 2024. In a statement, NEL Fund's Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Akintunde Sawyer, describes the milestone as a defining moment in Nigeria's pursuit of equitable education financing. So far, Netphone says it has disbursed more than 116 billion naira in student loans, covering instructional fees and upkeep allowances for students across universities, polytechnics and colleges of education nationwide. Netphone says it is committed to ensuring that every qualified Nigerian student can access funding regardless of background or location. All right, it's time to join Bade Adeleye for sports update. Bade, good to see you.
Good to see you again, Claire. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let's begin straight away with the Nigeria Premier Football League as Nasarawa United were knocked off the league summit after losing 1-0 away to Rivers United, making it back-to-back defeats. Abia Warriors profited from the situation as they ran away with a 2-1 victory away at Niger Tornadoes to go top of the league table. In Lagos, Ikorodu City sustained their momentum with a convincing 2-0 win over Kun Khalifat to move third. In the star match of the weekend, Enyimba handed Kano Pillars a 2-0 loss, thereby condemning Pillars to first from the bottom of the log. Now to the English Premier League, where Manchester City have moved second on the log after Erling Haaland inspired the citizens to a 3-1 win over Bournemouth. Haaland scored in the 17th and 33rd minutes, while Nico Riley put the game to bed with a third goal in the 60th minute. Earlier, West Ham United clinched their first home win since February as they recovered from a goal-down to beat Newcastle United 3-1 at the London Stadium. The result puts them above Nottingham Forest in 18th place and only 3 points from safety. Meanwhile, Wolverhampton Wanderers have sacked their manager Vitor Pereira after their winless start to the Premier League season. Continued just on Saturday with a 3-0 defeat to Fulham. Pereira's sacking comes 45 days after he signed a new 3-year contract at Wolves, despite them being bottom at the time, having lost their first 4 games. To volleyball now, VIP Spikers of Abuja have been crowned the women's champions of the 2025 National Division 1 Volleyball League after an impressive unbeaten run that saw them dominate both phases of the competition, which ended in Abia on Saturday. The Vipers won all 20 matches, amassing a total of 59 points to secure automatic qualification for the 2026 CGC Volleyball Premier League. Their stellar performance also earned them several individual awards, including Precious Nwadiogo, who was named the best middle blocker, Gift Iwobi the best attacker, and Precious Teaser the most valuable player. Away from Nigeria to the Paris Masters, where Yannick Sinner has regained his world #1 status after beating Felix Auger-Aliassime in the Paris Masters final. The Italian was displaced at the summit of the rankings after his US Open final defeat by Carlos Alcaraz in September, but went back above the Spaniard earlier today after beating Auger-Aliassime 6-4, 7-6 to clinch the Paris Masters title in the French capital. Well, that does it on Sports Tonight. Let's now return to Claire.
But they're not so fast. You know, just before you go, I've always wondered, when teams draw, they share one point apiece. I'm just wondering, the extra 1 point, where does it go?
It goes nowhere. That means that you just have to fight to, get the 3 points. And, there's no way they can make it 1.5. So it's one. So that tells you that you must fight for the 3 points. That's the encouragement. If you fight for the 3 points, you get it. But if you don't do that, you get just the points.
So it's designed that way.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. But not in all sports.
All right, Bade, thank you. It was the end of an era for one of Nasarawa's state's founding fathers, grassroots politician and mobilizer, Senator Solomon Iwuga, as he made his final journey to the great beyond. While the people of the state mourn his passing, they also take solace in the legacies he left behind in politics and public service. Aliu Tijani reports.
Alushi, a quiet community in Akwanga local government of Nasarawa State, came alive as people from all walks of life converge to bid a man described as political icon in the state, late Senator Solomon Ewuga, farewell. From the political class to traditional and religious leaders, captains of industry, among others, the Elijah is one of the founding fathers of the state.
In the Nigerian context, where many measure worth by wealth, we must remember that all men share one humble origin.
I know that is born to be with the Lord, and that his life and legacy, the many lives he has taught,
is a death to both Plateau and Nasarawa State.
We in this community of the Gon people who have lost a leader.
Throughout my tenure as governor, I enjoyed a lot of constructive advice from Solomon Ewuga. And I know that here we lost a great material.
From his early days as broadcast journalist to decades of political life and public service, as deputy governor, senator and minister, Senator Ewuga lived an impactful life, a testament corroborated by many during the funeral service.
This is the final journey he's taken. There is no more journey for him. We pray Almighty, may continue to reward him for what he has done.
But he was a father, a mentor to many of us in politics, not just in politics, but in life.
As the service ends, the curtain drawn closing chapter on the life of Senator Solomon Ewuga do gone, but his legacy of service lives on. Aliu Tijani, NTA News.
Let's now join the Weather Center for a look at weather prospects across the country on Monday.
Glad to have you join us. We expect late morning into afternoon thunderstorms over most parts of the coastal cities, gradually spreading into the inland cities of the south by afternoon hours. These storms are likely to extend into parts of southern Taraba, Benue and Kogi State as the day progresses. The central cities will experience sunny conditions with patches of cloud, while the north will remain dry, hot and sunny throughout the day. Temperature-wise, we anticipate highs of around 38 degrees Celsius over Sokoto and Unguru, but as we move southward, temperatures are expected to be milder, ranging between 31 and 34 degrees Celsius. And that's the weather update for Monday. Stay hydrated, stay safe, and have a wonderful day ahead. I'm Sefia Sayunusa. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Safia. And that's the news. In a moment, we'll ease into Newsline proper, bringing you real stories, real people after the commercials.